At 27, Shams had everything on paper that should have made him happy. A stable job, a small apartment, people who cared about him. But every night before he closed his eyes, the same question would arrive uninvited. What if I am wasting my life? Not because anything was going wrong, but because his mind never let him believe anything was going right either. He would lie in the dark, replaying conversations from years ago, wondering if he had said the wrong thing, wondering if people secretly judged him, wondering if he was already behind in a race everyone else seemed to be running faster. His body would rest, his mind never did. This is a fictional story about a man named Shams and a stranger he met on a train who was going nowhere in particular, but somehow knew exactly where Shams needed to go. Stay until the end, because what that stranger said in 20 short minutes might change how you carry your own mind for the rest of your life. Shams worked in a small marketing office in the city. He was good at his job, not the best, not the worst, just good enough that no one worried about him, which somehow made things worse, because it meant no one noticed when he was struggling. Every evening he took the same train home, same platform, same seat near the window if he could get it, same 40-minute ride staring at his reflection in the glass, thinking about everything he had done wrong that day, that year, that decade. His friends would say things like, "You think too much, man. Just relax, it's not that serious." But Shams didn't know how to explain that his mind wasn't a switch he could turn off. It was more like a radio stuck between stations. Static, noise, fragments of fear, all playing at once, all the time. One Thursday evening, after a particularly draining week, Shams boarded his usual train home. The carriage was quieter than usual. He sat by the window exhausted, staring outside as the city lights blurred past. That is when an old man sat down across from him. The man looked to be in his late 60s. Simple gray coat, a worn leather satchel resting on his lap. Nothing about him stood out, except his eyes. They were calm in a way that felt almost unfamiliar in a moving train full of tired, distracted faces. He glanced at Shams and said gently, "Long day." Shams gave a tired half-smile. "Every day feels long lately." The old man nodded slowly, as if he had heard that exact sentence 1,000 times before, from 1,000 different people. "Mind if I ask what's on your mind? You have the look of someone carrying a very full bag." Shams almost laughed. Almost. Instead, something in him, tired of holding everything alone, decided to answer honestly. "I don't know. Everything, I guess. My job, my past, whether I'm doing life right, whether I'll regret where I am in 10 years. I just think about it constantly. It never stops." The old man listened without interrupting. When Shams finished, the old man asked a simple question. "How many stops are left before your station?" Shams blinked, confused by the sudden shift. 6, maybe 7. "And in those 6 or 7 stops, how many of the problems you just told me about can you actually solve? Right here, on this train, right now?" Shams thought for a moment. "None of them, really." "Then why," the old man asked quietly, "are you spending this entire ride solving problems that don't live on this train?" Shams didn't have an answer. The old man reached down and lifted his worn leather satchel onto his lap. "Let me show you something," he said. "This bag is empty right now. Feel how light it is." He handed it to Shams. It was almost weightless. "Now imagine," the old man continued, "that every worry you carry is a stone, not imaginary, actual weight. Every fear about your future, every replayed mistake from your past, every conversation you're still overanalyzing, each one a stone dropped into this bag. If you only picked up one stone for a moment, just to look at it, learn from it, and set it back down, you'd barely notice the weight. But most people don't do that. They pick up a stone and they keep it, then another, until one day they're carrying a bag so heavy they don't remember life without the ache in their shoulders. He tapped the satchel gently. You've been collecting stones since you were young, Shams. Not because you're weak, because no one taught you it's all right to put them down. Shams stared at the empty bag in his hands, and for the first time, understood exactly what his exhaustion had actually been. The train rattled quietly through a tunnel, and for a few seconds the window went completely dark. No city lights, no reflection, nothing. Look at the window, the old man said. Shams looked. All he saw was his own tired reflection staring back. When the outside world disappears, the old man said, all you can see is yourself. Every flaw, every fear, every doubt. That is what your mind does when you sit alone with your thoughts for too long, without anything real in front of you to focus on. You start staring at your own reflection in the dark, and you mistake it for the whole truth. The train emerged from the tunnel, and suddenly the city reappeared outside. Buildings, lights, people, movement, life. But look now, the old man said. The world was always there. You just couldn't see it. Your problems feel enormous when your mind is the only light you have. The moment you let in something real, a task in front of you, a person beside you, a single breath, the darkness loses its grip. Shams watched the city lights pass by, feeling something in his chest loosen slightly, like a knot being tugged just gently enough to breathe again. Can I ask you something personal? Shams said quietly. Go ahead. Do you ever think about your past mistakes, things you wish you'd done differently? The old man smiled, not amused, but understanding. I think about them the way you glance at a map after you've already reached your destination. Useful to understand the road you took. Useless to keep staring at once you're already somewhere new. I once knew a man, he continued, who kept every rejection letter he ever received, every failed job application, every closed door, folded neatly in a drawer. He said it was so he'd never forget how hard he worked, but every single day he opened that drawer and read them again. He didn't grow from his past. He just kept re-injuring himself with it, thinking it was discipline. Your past already taught you its lesson the first time, Shams. Reading the same rejection letter for the 1,000th time doesn't make you wiser. It just reopens a wound that was already trying to heal. Shams felt something tighten in his throat. He thought about every mistake he replayed nightly, as if reliving it enough times would somehow undo it. So, what? Just forget it happened? No, the old man said. Learn it once. Thank it for the lesson, and then let the drawer close. And the future? Shams asked. I worry about that even more than the past. The old man gestured toward the train window, where the tracks ahead disappeared into darkness beyond the headlights. Can you see where these tracks lead? Right now? In this exact moment? No, not until we get there. Exactly. Yet the train is still moving forward, isn't it? It doesn't need you to see the destination to keep going. It simply needs the tracks beneath it, right now, in this moment. Most people, the old man said, spend their entire journey with their eyes fixed on a destination they can't yet see, completely missing the actual tracks currently carrying them forward. They arrive at the future exhausted, not because the journey, but because they spent the whole ride bracing for arrival instead of living the miles in between. Shams looked out at the tracks disappearing into the dark ahead of the train and felt for the first time in a long while that not knowing what was coming didn't have to feel like falling. It could just feel like moving. The train began to slow. Shams' station was close. One more thing before you go, the old man said. A simple question. You can ask yourself this every single day, and it will save you more energy than anything else I could teach you. Shams leaned in. Just ask, Is this something I can act on right now? If yes, take one small action, then release the rest of the worry. If no, there is nothing to solve yet, so there is nothing to carry yet either. You can pick it back up later if it's truly still there. Most of the time, it won't be. The train doors opened. Shams stood gripping the pole, unsure how to say what he felt. "Thank you," he finally said. "I don't even know your name." The old man smiled, gathering his satchel. "Doesn't matter much. What matters is whether you remember the bag, not the man who showed it to you." Shams stepped onto the platform. When he turned back to look through the window, the seat was already empty. The old man gone, swallowed into the crowd of a train that pulled away into the dark. That night, lying in bed, Shams noticed his mind starting its usual routine. Old conversations, future fears, familiar static. But this time, he asked the question, "Is this something I can act on right now?" For most of it, the answer was no. And so, one by one, he set the stones down. Not forcefully, not perfectly, just down. His problems hadn't disappeared. His job was still ordinary. His future was still unclear. His past still held moments he wished had gone differently. But the bag felt lighter. Weeks passed, and Shams noticed something quietly powerful. He began remembering his train rides home. Not because anything dramatic happened on them, but because for the first time in years, he was actually present for them. He noticed the sunset over the rooftops. He noticed a stranger laughing at something on their phone. He noticed his own breathing. He wasn't cured of worry. No one really is. But he had learned the difference between carrying a thought and being crushed by it. If you're someone who replays your past at 2 a.m., who braces for a future that hasn't arrived yet, who feels mentally exhausted even when your body has done nothing all day, maybe you're not broken. Maybe you're just carrying stones you were never meant to keep. This was a fictional story, but the weight it describes is very real for a lot of us. If this reached something in you, share it with someone who overthinks quietly, the way most of us do. And if you'd like more stories that explore the mind, the heart, and the quiet lessons hiding inside ordinary moments, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.